This passage is from Abigail Adams called Remember the Ladies from 1776. In March of 1776, Abigail Adams wrote this celebrated letter to husband John, who was serving as the Massachusetts representative to the Continental Congress in Philadelphia. Only weeks before, on March 17th, the British had evacuated from Boston, a preliminary sign of the Revolutionary War's eventual success. This letter shows Abigail urging her husband to remember the ladies in an age when women were seen as strictly domestic. March 31st, 1776. I wish you would ever write me a letter half as long as I write you, and tell me if you may find where your fleet are gone, what sort of defense Virginia can make against our common enemy, whether it is so situated as to make an able defense. Are not the gentry lords and the common people vassals? Are they not like the uncivilized natives Britain represents us to be? I hope their riflemen, who have shown themselves very savage and even bloodthirsty, are not a specimen of the generality of the people. I am willing to allow the colony great merit for having produced a Washington, but they have been shamefully duped by a Dunmore. I have sometimes been ready to think that the passion for liberty cannot be equally strong in the breasts of those who have been accustomed to deprive their fellow creatures of theirs. Of this I am certain that it is not founded upon that generous and Christian principle of doing to others as we would that others should do unto us. Do not you want to see Boston? I am fearful of the smallpox, or I should have been in before this time. I got Mr. Crane to go to our house and see what state it was in. I find it has been preoccupied by one of the doctors of a regiment, very dirty, but no other damage has been done to it. The few things which were left in it are all gone. Crane has the key which he never delivered up. I wrote to him for it, and I am determined to get it cleaned as soon as possible and shut it up. I look upon it a new acquisition of property, a property which 1 month ago I did not value at a single shilling, and could with pleasure have seen it in flames. The town in general is left in a better state than we expected, more owing to a precipitate flight than any regard to the inhabitants. Some individuals discovered a sense of honor and justice and have left the rent of the houses in which they were, for the owners and the furniture unhurt, or if damaged sufficient to make it good. Others have committed abominable ravages. The mansion house of your president, John Hancock, is safe and the furniture unhurt, whilst both the house and furniture of the Solicitor General, Samuel Quincy, have fallen a prey to their own merciless party. Surely the very fiends feel a reverential awe for virtue and patriotism, while they detest the parricide and traitor. I feel very differently at the approach of spring to what I did a month ago. We knew not then whether we could plant or sow with safety, whether we had toiled we could reap the fruits of our own industry, whether we could rest in our own cottages, or whether we should have not be driven from the sea coast to seek shelter in the wilderness. But now we feel as if we might sit under our own vine and eat the good of the land. I feel a gaiety de coeur to which I was a stranger. I think the sun looks brighter, the birds sing more melodiously, and nature puts on a more cheerful countenance. We feel a temporary peace, and the poor fugitives are returning to their deserted habitations. Though we felicitate among ourselves, we sympathize with those who are trembling lest the lot of Boston should be theirs. But they cannot be in similar circumstances unless pusillanimity and cowardice should take possession of them. They have time and warning given them to see the evil and shun it. I long to hear that you have declared an independency. And by the way, in the new code of laws, which I suppose it will be necessary for you to make, I desire you would remember the ladies, and be more generous and favorable to them and your ancestors. Do not put such unlimited power into the hands of the husbands. Remember, all men would be tyrants if they could. If particular care and attention is not paid to the ladies, we are determined to foment a rebellion, and will not hold ourselves bound by any laws in which we have no voice or representation. That your sex are naturally tyrannical is a truth so thoroughly established as to admit of no dispute. Of such of you as wish to be happy unwillingly give up the harsh title of master for the more tender and endearing one of friend. Why not, then, put it out of the power of the vicious and the lawless to use with cruelty and indignity and impunity? Men of sense in all ages abhor these customs which treat us only as the vassals of your sex. Regard us then as beings placed by Providence under your protection, and an intimation of the Supreme Being make use of that power only for our happiness.